Ladies and gentlemen, the connections of the winner of the 139th running of the Longines Kentucky Oaks. We're going to start from the jockey on this side. That's Mike Smith, who wins his first Kentucky Oaks aboard this filly. Not many holes left on that resume, Mike. Today you filled one. Todd Fletcher winning his third Kentucky Oaks with Princess of Sylmar. He's now tied for third on all-time wins with the Kentucky Oaks. Earlier wins with champions Ashado and Rags to Riches. Owner-breeder Ed Stanko of the King of Prussia stable with his Pennsylvania-bred filly. And granddaughters Avery and Bella. Say hello, guys. Who's having a birthday today?
Me.
There we go. Happy birthday. We'll sing happy birthday at the end of it here. We got to get it rolling here. First, let's go to Mr. Stanko here, because it's a wonderful race to win, a homebred. Just your thoughts on getting it done with this filly at 36-1.
It's very emotional. What can I say? Obviously, it is, and the odds never bothered us. It's been a long haul. We started out with the mother, Storm Dixie. Todd had Storm Dixie at Saratoga. New York bred, we won the maiden race, and we performed okay. And then after 2 or 3 years, we decided to retire her, and we said, you know what, let's breed her. Why not? And so we looked at all the bloodstock manuals in terms of who would be the best fit, and it turned out that Grand Slam looked like it would be the best. So we brought her to the breeding shed, and the day before, Grand Slam had been injured. So I get a call. Now, you got to realize, guys, this is the first horse I've ever bred. I get a call 8 o'clock in the morning saying we have a problem. What are we going to do? And I go, now I don't know what to do, right? So they said, well, we've got this young freshman sire, Majestic Warrior. And I said, okay, well, let's look at that. But what about the numbers? I'm an actuary. So I say, I do all the numerical analysis, but I don't have any numbers. Oh, don't worry about that. He's good. So he said, you know what? Let's do it. And then she was born on March 22nd in 2010, and then she came along very, very well. She looked really good on Sylmar Farm. We named it after Betsy and Ronnie Houghton's Sylmar Farm in Pennsylvania, a very successful farm. And they started to say at the farm, this is interesting. She's sort of faster than all the other horses at the farm. And I said, well, that's kind of neat, because our plan has always been, right from the very beginning, we would take her, and she'd go to Todd, and if she was good with Todd, well, we'd stay there. And if not, we'd go back to Pennsylvania. We had her as a PA bred, so we could pick up that little 20% bonus in a claiming race. Well, guess what? That's not going to happen. So, so all of a sudden, she started to do pretty well. As you guys know, she won 4 races by total of 38 lengths. Then we matched up with Bill Mott's horse, Close Hatches, in a very, very good and very fast race. And that was really sort of a turning point, because I said, geez, I don't know. I thought we would do a little bit better. And we said, but my number one thing, and Todd will tell you, is I always wanted to take our time, keep her happy, keep her calm, and don't stress her, and let her do the work. And so, after that race, we gave her a little time, and then we worked her out, and she did just great. I mean, she's just come along. But really, Mike Smith did a great job here, obviously. But the person I have to really say the most for is Todd. I know Todd's had all the big, a lot of the bigger players in the game. I've been with Todd's for 10 years. Just one at a time. And it's been a very well-planned approach to how to go to the races. And, we took our time with some smaller, not-so-successful ones. And to me, there's no better trainer in the world that he can do this with this kind of filly.
Let's go. Let's go to Todd next. Todd, you finished 1-3-4 in this Kentucky Oaks, which I'm pretty sure has never been done in Oaks history. We'll have to do some research there, but tremendous performance despite some of your fillies having some trouble. Talk about the winner and then talk about the others. It was a rough and tumble start.
Well, Ed and I discussed after the our last race in the Gazelle, and you try to handicap every race individually. And looking at that race that day, we felt like Close Hatches was the only speed in the race. If no one else took it to her, we were basically going to relinquish the race in the beginning. So we probably gave Javier the wrong instructions and told him we need to stay a little closer, don't let the other filly get away. And I thought our filly ran a huge race, but she paid the price a little bit inside the 8th pole. She was also given closed hatches, I think 6 pounds, and she hadn't run in 2 months. So, we talked about it and weren't sure that this was the right race for her next. We talked a lot about passing this and going to the Black Eyed Susan. But after Ed and I talked a couple of times, we said, let's bring her to Churchill and let's see how she handles the track. And I think she'll tell us if she wants to run or not. To be honest with you, her first work over the track, told Ed this wasn't what I was hoping for. Time was good, but she just didn't seem comfortable going over it like she normally is. She's usually a very good workhorse. The one thing we noticed that weekend, it seemed like every horse that we were working on the inside just wasn't performing as well as the horse on the outside. With the exception of Revolutionary, he was the only horse that in our company works actually was the one that was the strongest at the wire. So I told Ed, filly's doing fine. She looks good. She's acting well. Let's see how she breezes next week. We switched her around and put her on the outside, and she was completely different. Much, much better work. So really, Ed said, I want to take a shot. Let's do it. I said, here we go.
Again, that tough start. All the horses kind of accordioned in at the gate, and a couple of years took it tough.
It was, it was a tough start for a lot of fillies, and Mike can tell you more about it. But he took a pretty tough slam out of there as well. And I thought Dreaming of Julia probably took the worst of it, and then it ended up compromising her position. She got shuffled back, further than she's used to. I thought she ran a remarkable race to continue to close as well as she did, and was still gaining in the end. It's just ran out of ground.
Mike, your first Oaks win. Your filly ran a terrific race, but as we were talking over here to the side, Beholder really she fought hard down the stretch. But talk about the trip and the feeling about winning a Kentucky Oaks at a track where you used to ride a bit.
Well, the first part of the race was the scary part. It kind of took my leg and my iron with them for about 3 jumps there, but luckily we stayed on her. And then after that, I just rode her like Todd had told me to. To be honest with you, they felt that they moved a little early last time out. To really be patient. And when I thought it was time to move, just maybe even be a little more patient. And it really worked out great. And it was perfect instructions because we needed every bit of it.
All right, we've got microphones around the room for questions, and we'll start here with Ed.
For Todd and Mike, the Oaks Derby double, Mike, has certainly been done more recently for a jockey. What was it, 4 years ago with Calvin? And it's been 51 years for a trainer. Does that go through your mind now? I mean, does the possibility of doing something, Todd, in your case, that rare, and Mike, something that you've never done before, does that go through your minds?
It's going through mine. We've done the first part.
The only ones with a chance, anyways.
Next. Yes.
Mike, can you describe the move that you made early in the stretch when you split those 2 horses, what you saw, and how you managed to get through there and do what you did?
She was really traveling well the whole time. She actually probably wanted to move a little earlier than that, and just didn't want to move too soon. I felt that I needed to time it right. Churchill has a really, extremely long stretch, and I just didn't want to move too soon. And like I said, it just all worked out great. She just ran tremendous. I mean, she showed a whole lot of heart. Beholder never folded at all. I mean, she really dug in, and for us to outrun her was incredible.
Ed, this question is for you. Ed, how did you get started in racing, and just tell us a little bit about your background?
Sure, no problem. My uncle used to take me to the racetrack when I was 8 years old. And I immediately fell in love with it, and I was always very, very good with numbers. And I joke a lot of times that it was my trip to the racetrack that turned me into an actuary, of which what became my profession ultimately in the reinsurance business. And I took that, and when I raised my kids, I always brought them to the track so they would learn statistics and all the rest of it. But anyway, the story is, it's kind of funny. Around 1995, I really had started thinking about owning a racehorse. And I was working on a reinsurance program for workers' comp for jockeys. And I went on a field trip, and the field trip took me to J.J. Pletcher's farm. And so we were there, and we were looking at all the safety standards and all this, of what goes on in the farm. And I was spending my time saying things like, well, if a horse is a little nervous, do I know if it's going to run right or not? You know. So anyway, so I met JJ. He probably doesn't remember it. And JJ said to me that day, in about 2 weeks, my son is his first horse race. I think it was about then. It was back in March of 1995. And so then what occurred, it's really a strange story. In the year 2000, 2001, I was working with my partner, Mike Cassio, who had horses with Todd. He was one of Todd's first clients. And he said, well, why don't we get together now? I've got the right people, and I'll invest and get involved with a horse. So we did. And Mr. Raines didn't do too well. We gave him a shot. But the next horse we had was Cape Side Lady, who was a New York bred filly. She won New York bred 2, 3, and 4-year-old filly championships in New York, and we went to the Breeders' Cup with her, which was an amazing experience. She didn't win. And then we went to the sale with her, and I said, I will never own another racehorse. This can't happen again. We turn around, it's Kentucky Derby time. I get a call from Joe Brocklebank, the bloodstock agent. He says, you know, Ed, I've got a nice horse for you to look at. And it was Storm Dixie, the mare. And I said, I will never do this again. I went and I looked and I go, okay, we're buying a horse. And so that one went to Todd, and all the others have, and it's just been a wonderful experience.
Todd, can you talk about the relationship you have with Ed? And you know, most people when they see you, they think of Rapoli or Windstar. And how many owners do you work with?
Well, we work with quite a few different owners, but there's some guys like Ed that have one horse, and there's some guys that like Rapoli that have 20 and talk to you 2 hours a day, and there's guys like Ed that you talk to, 2 or 3 minutes a week. But I think Ed has a very good feel for racing. He has a very good understanding. He's a very good handicapper. So we were always very realistic. She's a Pennsylvania bred. We wanted to take advantage of that, develop her. But she just kept getting better and better. And, some of her races in New York this winter, I kept telling everyone, the numbers aren't blowing anyone away, but when you see a filly run the way she did and overcome some of the obstacles she did in some of those races, and then from the 8th pole to the wire, kick clear and win by 8 lengths, I kept saying, I think she's better than that. And Ed and I made a decision. We talked about it after her race in February, whether to do like we did with Revolutionary and bring her down to Florida at the same time or stay in New York. And we both decided that she's doing really well. She seems to be handling Belmont and Aqueduct great. Let's keep her there. Let's pass the March race. Let's focus on the Gazelle, and that should put her in her best position to hopefully show up here if we decide she's doing well. So, it's one of those things that, we thought a lot about, and it turned out to be the correct move.
Tim?
Todd, would you have expected that your entries would have finished in this order in this race? And if not, what does that say about the strength of numbers in a big race like this?
Well, no. I think, anybody that's handicapping the race, including me, felt like that the order of our chances were Dreaming of Julia. We thought if everything went well, had probably the highest percentage chance of winning, and Unlimited Budget the second highest percentage, and Princess of Sylmar the third, and Silcita the fourth. I handicapped the race the same way as everyone else did. But the one thing that I did say to people that asked me about Princess of Sylmar is I said, I think if they go fast, and Mike's very good at getting horses to settle and make a run with, said if they go fast early, this filly wouldn't shock me. And, when they threw up 22-4, and she was sitting where we wanted her to sit, I think, it all fell into place from there.
Jason?
Ed, can you tell us about the last conversation you had with Todd about whether to run her, and did you have any inhibitions in your mind about whether she would go here or in the Black-Eyed Susan?
Well, I gave Todd my own very sophisticated probability table. But no, we looked at it and I said, so Todd, where are we? And we were both, we knew she was good, and we were really looking between the Black-Eyed Susan or this race. And then I started to think about it and think that, well, the Black-Eyed Susan has very good fillies too. And, the way this race is shaping up, let's think about what we want to do. And then I said, if she's happy and healthy, then, she could go either place. And we said, and we knew that if she qualified to be here, she should be here. And I was starting to be a little bit conservative. Well, I'm not sure. And I said, okay, you know what? If she's healthy, happy, and she can make that run in their speed, why don't we give it a try?
Any others? Over here.
Mike, could you talk a little bit about the start? Again, you talked about those 3 jumps were a little scary. Just kind of describe what you felt and how you kind of made it through that.
Well, there was it felt like there was the 3 jocks on one horse just about. I mean, that's how much they squeezed us over, and I mean they hit us pretty hard, including Dreamy Julia. I mean, I could literally see her head right here, and there's a horse in between us. So I mean, I know that they squeezed us hard, and it certainly took her out of the position she's supposed to be in, but they were still going pretty quick up front, and Princess just gathered herself up quick. I mean, she was right back in the game around the first turn and was taking me everywhere I needed to go. So I knew she was going to run well. It was just a matter of, are we good enough to get there, and she certainly was.
Todd and Mike, can you go through how you happen to get together to get Mike on this horse this time?
Know Mike since I was a kid, and he used to ride for my dad when he was 16 years old at Oaklawn Park. So we've won a lot of races over the years together. He relocated to California. We don't get to hook up as much as we used to, but basically when his agent saw that Princess of Sylmar was gonna run, he sent me a text and said, Mike's open in the Oaks. We'd love to ride for you. Ed and I talked about 3 or 4 of the possibilities, and we felt like Mike was the right guy. It was pretty much as straightforward as that.
I like the way you and Ed think.
Any other questions? Jason?
Todd, you talked about those 2 works, and do people read too much into times, given the fact that the second one was actually a couple of ticks slower than the first one?
Yeah, to me, the time doesn't tell the whole story of the work, and visually, the second work was much more impressive to me, even though the time was a little slower. She was on the bridle throughout. She came to the wire under a strong grip and galloped out well and seemed much more comfortable over the surface. So I think times of works can be very deceiving if you don't see them.
Yeah, Todd, before this horse wins 4 races in a row and then a second, is there any way to explain why the odds are as high as they are today?
I think it's just the depth of the field. This was, I think everyone advertised it to be, as strong at Oaks as we've seen in a long time, maybe perhaps ever. And so I think that was the main reason. It was just the depth of the field, the quality of the fillies in here.
Any other questions? Birthday plans tonight? Do we have any celebration plan?
A big birthday. Can I say one thing?
Go right ahead. Yes, sir.
My goal has always been, and a few of you out there know this, and I've said it in the press, my goal has always been to get our colors on that lawn jockey at Saratoga, where I grew up. Well, I have to tell you, the people of Kentucky have done one up on that, I think. And really, thank you very much for all your support. And happy birthday, Bella.
Ed Stanko of King of Prussia Stable, Todd Fletcher, and Mike Smith, winning connections of the Kentucky Oaks. The Longines Kentucky Oaks run today before 113,820 fans, second largest crowd in Kentucky Oaks history.
Congratulations and thank you, and happy birthday.